topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Camping Show. I'm CW Getz.
And I'm Jesse Meany.
It is Wednesday, December 29th, 2022, and we have got a 26-degree fair evening here near Chicago, Illinois. I would like to introduce my co-host this evening, Miss Jesse Meany. She is a friend and neighbor and sitting in for Willow this evening. How you doing, Jesse?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I tell you what, I could have done without the snow yesterday. We finally got our snow.
Oh, yeah.
That we talked about, yeah. But and it was sloppy, slushy sloppy.
It was. My kids were happy to have it, but driving in it is no fun.
No. I slid past my driveway, getting into my house or coming back home yesterday from grocery shopping. I'm like, this isn't good. I don't like that.
No.
But it is what it is. And half of it's melted today. So maybe I think we get a little warmer weather coming the next day or two, too. So it'll probably all be gone.
Yeah.
Maybe by the weekend. Well, tonight's episode is brought to you by Campground Views, making camping easier.
Rutabaga Paddle Sports, providing time on the water.
By Campmore, the store that gets you out more.
By Duluth Pack, made in the USA since 1882.
And by Novacraft Canoe, connecting with nature since 1970. Tonight's episode is Campfire Cooking, Pros and Cons, with our special guests, Kevin Callan and Kevin Ride. Jesse, could you tell us a little bit about Kevin and Kevin?
Yeah. We'll start with Kevin Callan, a.k.a. The Happy Camper, is an author of 18 books. He is an award-winning writer and a keynote speaker at outdoor events across North America, and is also a regular guest on several television morning shows and CBC radio. Kevin has several film awards to his credit and writes a column for Paddling Magazine and Explore Magazine. He was listed as one of the top 100 modern-day explorers by the Canadian Geographical Society and was made patron paddler for Paddle Canada. And then Kevin Ride. With his popular YouTube channel, Kevin Outdoors, 50-year-old Canadian forester, author, and adventurer Kevin Ride has been camping and canoe tripping his entire life. Kevin holds a master's degree in forestry and in 2010 was named Ontario's Forester of the Year. His book, Backcountry Eats, which focuses solely on dehydrating meals for backcountry camping, was recently published in June of 2021.
And with that, welcome to the show, Kevin Callan and Kevin Ride. That's a tongue twister, man.
Yeah.
You know Kevin's a good name when there's two of them on the show.
Oh, boy. This is the Kevin.
We're in trouble. We're in trouble for sure.
Love
Kevin. Kevin
you
Ireland.
show our viewers what kind of prop you brought to? Is that John Denver in the background? Who is that?
You got a problem with that?
I think I recognize that guy. Show us your prop, Kevin.
Well, I've got John Denver tunes and
Not that prop. The other prop you showed us before the show.
Oh yeah, the monkey shoulder. Yeah,
I got the monkey butt. I mean monkey shoulder. You know,
someone was listening to your show. This is a really good story for you guys. Someone was listening to your show and you were making fun of my monkey shoulder, so they mailed me one.
You know, that reminds me, it brings back memories of Michigan, that Michigan show, Quiet Adventures Symposium. Look, hey, notice I didn't say Quiet Waters. I'm getting used to that new name.
Yes. Yeah.
And Roxy, I'm going to ask you, is there a way he can be turned up in my headset? Kevin, that is?
What? Me?
Oh, there we go. Yep, that was fast.
That's better.
Well, anyway, welcome to the show, guys. Hey, let me first start by asking, why would it be preferable to go to the extra work of processing firewood for the purpose of cooking a meal rather than simply using a camp stove?
Kevin, go ahead.
Don't everybody jump on that question at once.
Go on.
Thanks.
Go on, you can do it, Kev.
Well, I think the main thing that a campfire does is it brings people together. It's a real great aesthetic experience. If you want to get people together, light a fire and they will all gather around. I had some friends that used to work in Ontario Parks in the interpretive program, and they said, you can put up as many flyers and bug people as much as you want to come to an evening program, but you light a big bonfire and people will show up. So I think a campfire has a lot of aesthetic qualities and really makes cooking a meal quite a pleasant and social experience.
It's funny about that. And I've witnessed this. People all gather around the fire while you're cooking, and then, of course, critique you and your mistakes if you make any. But no one does that with a camp stove, do they?
No, in fact, actually, I would say of all the times of guiding and going on trips, whatever, the camp stove is my thing to cook on. If I want to get a meal done and feed people,
yeah,
I will do it on a camp stove. If I want to entertain them and entice them, induce them, whatever, I will do it on the campfire. But the campfire is just, it's just crap getting a good meal done. You can't turn it up and down. You got to put wood on all the time. But it's not as, the camp stove is not as, woo, this is cool. Like,
right.
So it's unless you're cooking some good solid meals like in a Dutch oven, like, or steak or potatoes, whatever. Yeah. Or if you've got like 4 hours, if you only got 20 minutes, do it on a cook stove and make everybody happy, and then get the fire going.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. So other than for aesthetic value, are there any practical benefits for cooking over a campfire rather than a stove? I know you kind of answered some of that just now, but is there any other?
Kevin?
Well, I think Kevin did mention a few good ones there. Certainly, if you've got some time, you can really make a great stew in a Dutch oven or something like that, or you can impart flavor if you're grilling a steak on a grill over a campfire. That's a real great a great positive for the campfire.
I do. I would like to say though, if you're cooking steak, don't use the grill that's there when you get to the campsite, because most likely someone has peed on that. And I know it sounds disgusting, but I'm pretty darn sure someone's peed on that. So I would bring either tin foil or I would bring my own camp grill. And then, don't leave the camp grill, because then the whole campsite has like 20,000 camp grills left over, whatever. But yeah. Okay. Kevin, have you ever peed on a camp grill before?
Oh my gosh, do we need to answer that?
Have I ever peed?
I think we had this conversation, Kevin, about peeing on a campfire once. You and I did. And I said something about, have you ever peed on the campfire? I don't remember what your answer. What was it?
Well, I would not do that, but
I think that's what you said. You be you, CW.
Yeah.
Because I think I said I've done that before. Why not? That helps put it out if you're leaving camp. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It was forget about it.
I went off tangent again. What was the question again?
Yeah, it was about how many sticks does it? No, I'm just sorry. Yeah, we were talking about. Go ahead, Jess.
Yeah. So other than peeing on campfires and stuff, and other than processing wood, are there any disadvantages to cooking on a campfire?
Kevin?
Yeah, it like as Kevin said in the first question, it can be really challenging to keep your heat at a constant rate, to not get hot spots in a pan and burn your food, and you've really got to be attentive to what you're doing if you're cooking on a campfire. It's fit with folly.
But Kevin, you have to agree though too that the best way to do walleye fillets is in a cast iron pan that someone else carries on the portage. I'm not.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Filled with oil, but done on the fire. Like done on the cook stove is like, you might as well just do dehydrated slop. So, but to catch a walleye or a lake trout, whatever, and to do it on the fire, or even do a lake trout wrapped in tin foil with walleye fillets inside the lake trout with onion and lemon, and then bake it in the camp stove, in the campfire as opposed to the camp stove. That's fantastic, right? But that's I would do on a layover day. I wouldn't do it every single night. So if it's downpouring rain, weather is bad, you don't want to go get wood, you don't want to get a fire going, you just want to get nutrients inside you, camp stove is the way to go.
So this isn't really
And
okay.
no
So
one's
this
ever
wasn't.
cooked a marshmallow over a camp stove, right? Sorry about that.
Kevin, see, have they? Have you
What? Sorry,
cooked the marshmallow over a camp stove?
no, I never have, because that's a sin.
That's a sin.
Exactly.
You'll burn for
Exactly.
Hey, no pun
So
intended, you'll burn.
if you do that, you will go to hell.
I quit.
Yeah.
Pun intended there. So, okay, let me ask you this: coals or flames? What's your preference?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the wood
video,
source.
Okay.
Yeah, up here in the north, where we have a lot of spruce and pine is our wood source. Getting a small stick fire going underneath the grill and having a light flame and just keep putting in new sticks when you need a little more heat, that works really well. I prefer coals. Like if you've got some good hardwood and you make some coals, cooking on coals is great. But some of the wood we have up here in the boreal forest, you make a fire, you don't get a lot of coals out of a fire.
Yeah, not a big hardwood area. So here's the thing. I did a video on this campfire cooking, and I showed cooking with coals as opposed to fire. And there's a couple benefits, if you don't mind me chiming in on this. But there's, like you said, no hot spots. There's no flames that give you a hot spot. It's the even cooking. You don't get any carbon buildup on the pots or pans either. That's another big perk. And I believe, this is just me, coals are much easier to control than is a flame. What do you guys say to that?
I mean, yeah, coals are ultimate for sure to cook on, and if you have deciduous species to create into a nice coal, and that's fantastic. But like Kevin said, if you got jack pine, it's just going to
not going to happen. Yeah.
Well, it will happen, but it won't happen for very long, right?
That's what I mean. Yeah, the not going to be much for coals. There is what you're getting.
Yeah. So, but ultimately, don't cook a chicken on hot cedar and just scar it for a bit, and then you'll get food poisoning for sure.
Yeah, right.
So,
Right.
Yeah. But ultimately, Kevin, you've got poplar up there and birch, right? So at least that will turn into somewhat of a coal.
Yeah, but they still don't last as long as cooking with maple or elm or anything like that. Those coals will last, for an hour, but birch will kind of fizzle out pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I think that's really cool. Kevin and I Kevin's still a forester, and I was a forester, right? And we know our wood. So what's kind of cool,
wood is in your genes, Kevin.
It is actually, and it's really important to be quite honest. It's really important to know your species, because I see so many people just throwing like the hemlock in. Like, oh my God, why are you burning hemlock? It's crap.
Yeah.
And all this, and they're like, what's the difference? It's just wood. I went, no, there's a big difference, and especially if you're going to cook on a campfire, you need to know your species.
We just had somebody totally agree, Kevin. I mean, if you don't know what you're burning, you're shooting in the wind. You have no idea. Roxy, could you put that question back up there again? Jesse, you want to field that one?
Yeah,
not the steak one, but the other one about
I saw that other one.
There you go.
Okay, does anyone soap their pots?
Ellen Bierhoff. Yeah.
You go first, Kev.
I used to. Yeah, I used to do that. I when I was in Scouts, we learned to soap our pots to keep the soot off of them, and it does work, but it's another chore. It's another thing to do. It works, but it's not really a sustainable practice. You're gonna forget to do it, and you're eventually gonna get sooty pots.
Yeah, well, sooty pots, they look glorious. It's like, I'm a camper because my pots are dirty. If your pots are clean, you got no experience. So sorry, you might die out there. The other thing is sooty pots retain the heat better. So you're going to get a boil on in your pot better if it's a sooty pot as opposed to a clean pot. And also in the springtime, when you bring them down from the attic or the garage and you smell them, it's better than the best deodorant you could ever imagine.
Oh, wow.
Just to smell a dirty, sooty pot is like just an aroma like beyond belief.
Yeah, especially because mine's unscented. Not my pot, but my yeah. Hey, we talking about what kind of firewood we want, or what kind of wood we're looking for to burn. Regardless of the species, we're looking for what? What type of wood? Stuff that's laying on the forest floor, or what?
Kev?
Dry wood. You're always looking for dry wood. Dry and dead and standing is really nice. As soon as a tree hits the ground, it's going to start soaking up moisture. So if the branches are holding it off the ground, that's great. If it's a dead spruce that's standing and you notice it's got no needles on it, yeah, that's a great piece of firewood. Whatever you want it to be dry.
Okay.
And Kev, how do you know it's dry? Can you tell people about that?
Well, I know you do the thing on your lip, right? You cut it and do a thing on your lip, which is pretty handy. Like you can feel the dryness on your lip.
Yeah. And actually, Ray Mears showed me that, and then it's kind of comical because people are looking around like, "Why is he kissing a piece of wood?" Like he's got some problems, but you can feel the moisture in your lips for sure when you cut it with the saw for sure. But what about before you do that? What about when you go off in the bush and you're about to saw it?
Yeah, I'm looking for something where the bark is probably peeling. I might be able to feel it, depending on how it's laying there. I might be able to lift it, and does it feel light compared to a normal log? Is the bark peeling? In the summertime, it's really easy because there'll be no leaves. But this time of year, you're looking for other things. You're looking for cracked bark or bark falling off, or you're looking for a tree with no buds or no new growth on it, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
That's hilarious. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a pot on my scented, because my car smells because my dog goes with me everywhere. Oh my Lord. What about even the look of the wood, Kevin? Like if I bang it with an axe in the wintertime, it sounds hollow. If there's really squiggly worm lines in it, the bark falls off it really easily, so therefore it's dry. Just by banging it, you can sense it, right? What's really kind of cool is my buddies, we all have a sort of a thing in the wintertime. We all have different jobs, and they send me off, maybe because they're tired of listening to me all day, whatever. But my job is to go off and get wood while they're setting the tent up. And I said, well, how come that's my job? They're like, I don't know, Kev. You need to tell everybody how to go and get good, dry, quality species, because whatever you come back is like gold, right? Number one gold for me in the north where you are is it's a softwood, which makes no sense. But if I can find dead, dried tamarack, it's literally like a piece of gold, right? Because it's the most dense softwood, so the fibers are really contained. So if you put that in your stove or your campfire, it's going to burn all night. Here, more so south of Algonquin Park near Toronto, ironwood, it will literally spark your chainsaw. That's how dense the wood is. It's the hardest hardwood possible. So if you find that's gold. What other species, Kevin?
In the winter, I like spruce, a good dry spruce, because it doesn't have all the sap as much as a pine does. So it's not going to be creating a mess in your stove as much as pine might. So I really like spruce, and it's also sort of a nice regular taper to it. So you cut a 20-foot piece of spruce, the one end is almost the same size as the other, which is really nice. Especially if you're sawing through it, you're not getting a piece like it's unmanageable.
Yeah.
Kevin, can you explain what BTU is in a forestry term, or not a forestry term, I guess?
Yeah, British thermal units. It's how much heat is given off, and a really interesting thing. So you're talking about density. It's all about the density of the wood, because a pound of wood gives off the same amount of heat as any other species, as long as it's dry. So you're looking for those dense species, like ironwood is probably one of the densest ones in North America. If you get a small bundle of ironwood, it's going to be very, very thick. As long as it's lit, it's going to give you a lot of heat, and it'll last a long time.
I forgot about that. That's absolutely right. A pound of wood is a pound of wood, and it burns the same length of time. Doesn't matter if a pound is this big if it's ironwood or if it's Osage orange or whatever, or if it's a pound of pine or whatever. I forgot all about that. That's a great reminder, Kevin.
That's really interesting.
Also,
Yeah.
Kevin, can you tell them the difference between red maple and sugar maple? Huge difference, right? Because they're both hardwoods. Both
Yeah.
deciduous.
Both hardwoods, both they look fairly similar. They grow in a similar place. Hardwood, red maple tends to grow in a bit of a wetter environment, so they can be in the same stand, but at the lower end of the slope, you're going to find the red maple, and it's just not as dense. And when it dries, it's great; it burns fine, but it's not going to give you as much heat because it's not as dense.
Well, I'll tell you a terrible story. Okay, just a quick story. And this is I feel so bad about myself. So when I was in forestry, we went to the mill and they slabbed the logs, and the slabs on the side were just tossed. And if anybody wanted the slabs to go and bring it home to burn in their fire, that was fine. So my buddy and I hey, we got a great idea. I bought my first camera doing this. So we got the slabs, put it in my truck, and we sold the red maple as hardwood for firewood. Now, it's true, right? It is hardwood, right, Kevin?
Yeah,
but it's
absolutely.
Soft. Yeah, so we were true in our advertisement. Here's some hardwood for you for $50 for the truckload. Here's the hardwood. And they said, what is it? It's maple. And of course, they're like, oh.
How's that go get?
Oh, it was terrible. So it was red maple, not sugar maple, which was crap, right?
Oh, wow, yeah.
We finally got caught, and one guy tried to pick it up. But anyway.
I had I had 2 sugar maple trees here on my property, and those were the first 2 I sawed down. I had a little saw fest in my property here a few years ago, but yeah, I don't like those trees. Not good. And carpenter ants love them, by the way. Carpenter ants love those.
That's a lot of really good information. And we do have some more questions to ask coming up, but we're going to take a break. But don't go away. We'll be back with more of the Camping Show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV after these messages.
It's time to go camping. Introducing Campground Views virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sites, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground Views virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
A few years ago, someone asked Rutabaga's owner, Darren Bush, "Hey, how long have you guys been selling boats?" Darren replied, "We don't sell boats. We sell time on the water." Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Rutabaga outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Rutabaga's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Rutabaga Paddle Sports, on the web at rutabaga.com. Mention you saw this ad on the Camping Show.
Campmore in Paramus is open, and we're fully stocked with everything you need for your next outdoor adventure. Stop in for safe in-store shopping or buy online with curbside pickup. Check campmore.com for our latest hours. Campmore, for over 40 years, your outdoor recreation store.
Duluth Pack is handcrafted for every lifestyle, making memories since 1882. In store at 365 Canal Park Drive or online at duluthpack.com.
And we're back with our guests, Kevin Callan and Kevin Ride, here on the Camping Show. Gentlemen, does the species of wood, when used for cooking, affect the flavor of foods? Now, this is something that I know I've been asked, and I honestly haven't noticed a difference. You guys are cooking with some different wood than what I typically would cook with. What do you think? Does the species affect the flavor here when we're cooking over campfire?
Kevin, take this because actually I don't know.
I think it does. I've had some good experiences and some bad experiences. Of course, on our grills, many of us like to add a smoke in a smoker or on a grill with alder chips or apple wood or something like that. Mesquite makes a great flavor. So the same thing happens when you're camping. The flavor of the wood can make a difference. I cooked a steak once, and all I had available to me was some really dense pine, and it was very, very gummy. It had lots of resin in it, and I cooked a steak on that, and it was bad. The steak was good on the inside, but the outside was like a piney, sooty flavor, and that's no good at all. So we learn from our mistakes. So it can be both good and bad depending on what's available to you.
Did it taste a little like turpentine?
Yeah, a little bit. Just had a little hint, you know?
Yeah, my gosh. Oh
Fine.
God.
So are there any concerns regarding toxicity when cooking with certain species of wood?
You know, I had to look that one up before the show because I hadn't heard of that. And the most I could find was poison sumac, poison oak, those kinds of things. You want to make sure, again, as Kevin said earlier, don't, know your species, but you don't want to be throwing any of that kind of stuff in your campfire because the same thing's going to happen. The poisonous quality that's in the leaves is also in the bark. And when that burns, that's going to hit your food. You're probably not going to die, but it's probably going to taste bad. It could affect you a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. If you inhale that smoke, a colleague of mine years ago, he cut some poison sumac, burned it, and then breathed that smoke in, and he was in the hospital for 2 weeks because he had poison sumac in his lungs.
I've heard of that happening to people too.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that's new one to me. Yeah. So just to finish that up, Kevin Ride, that's the only one you know of. It was like applewood and what was the other one you mentioned? As far as cooking flavor for the food?
Oh, apple, mesquite, if you're in a place like that. Yeah. Any of the stuff that you find in a hardware store, alder is really good. Those can impart some nice flavors to your food if you've got that wood available.
Yep, and obviously hickory too. We're spoiled down here.
Yeah, hickory.
Yeah,
we've got some killer hardwoods down here. You guys really don't probably have where you're at, but so CW
also cherry wood, like you have cherry up where you are too, Kevin. It might sound like it sounds nice, but it stinks like beyond belief. So in fact, it looks like in the young species, it looks like yellow birch, which yellow birch smells fantastic when you're cooking with it. It actually smells like wintergreen, right? But you do the black cherry, and it smells like your sock.
Oh wow! Yeah. How does your sock smell?
Oh yeah, even on a day 1, it smells sock, but day 20, it smells like a sock. Like it's disgusting.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Hey, we had a couple of questions here. Jess, you want to field these? Roxy, we had one that was from what was the one we had before? Somebody mentioned. It was a good question. Lance. Yeah. Okay. There.
Lance Chapman.
Yeah.
Prepackaged meals. What's your go-to? Hydrated or dehydrated? What would be the better in certain scenarios?
Hey, Kevin, you got the new cookbook out.
I just wrote a book about dehydrating food, and so that's my preferred way in most cases. Of course, if you're car camping or if you're just doing a one-nighter, I tend to gravitate towards fresh stuff. But if you're going for a longer trip, I always dehydrate my food. You bring the weight down by about 80%. Most of your food is 80% water. So if you dehydrate your food, you bring it down, and you can create some great meals that are dehydrated just the same.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And that's what we do here too. Is everything is not everything is dehydrated. And Kevin, you and I talked about this when we did the preliminary meeting here. And we'll get into a little bit in a second. Wanted to ask, what standpoint, we're going to switch gears here for a little bit. What standpoint do each of you take regarding the subject of carbon emissions from campfires that is, versus that of a portable gas and gasoline stoves?
Yeah, that's
Too bad Cliff isn't here for this one, right?
yeah, I know. It's funny. It's a tough one, but an easy one.
Yeah.
So I've had people come up to me and say, "Well, I cook on a campfire because cooking on a camp stove is just using butane, propane, white gas, and emissions." And then I've had other people say, "Well, I use a camp stove because why are you burning the forest?" And you know what? There's not a lot of us out there.
Give us a give us a Cliff answer, would you, Kevin? Don't hold back.
I would give a Cliff answer. It's like, just do whatever. Like if you're driving your car to Toronto to go to work, you're actually doing a lot worse in the environment than ever could possible be. So, don't worry about it. Use a white gas, use a butane propane stove, use a white gas stove, or burn the forest down. I don't know. Like Kevin, how do you differ?
I feel the same way. One of these things, this is a isopro canister. I tend to use these backpacking. One of these will last me a whole week and more. If I'm careful and I'm just rehydrating meals, I'm not actually doing a whole lot of cooking on them. So yes, you should be mindful about carbon emissions, but this is really small. I probably spent a lot more carbon getting to that park or getting to that trailhead than I burnt all week. So it's good to be mindful. I like it that people are mindful of that, but yeah, you got to think of the bigger stuff and not concentrate on the little amount that you're going to burn for food, and certainly not pick on somebody and be judgmental about it, because that's a bit of a habit some people have.
Also, with that canister you're showing, butane propane canister too, I think the worst environmental problem is that people will take it and they're like, well, I'm not going to carry this anymore. So they throw it in the outhouse hole, in the Thunderbox hole. And actually, right here in Ontario Parks is really considering banning them from the backcountry because so many people are doing that. So that's become
too bad.
Because really, in theory, all you have to do is pack it out with you. You've already carried it in. It's lighter because it's less, right? And then you go to your, it all depends on where you are. But for me, I have to take it to the dump, and then I have to go to the recycling area, and they actually get the rest of the gas out of it and they reuse it. I know some other places too, you tag it and they'll do that for you. But yeah, don't toss it in the outhouse hole. So the other thing is how much fuel do you have left in that too when you come back from the trip? Really good trick. You can get gauges and everything else you can buy for $20, whatever. But just put it in a floating bit of water, burp it, put it on the side, let it burp, and then it will float. And when it floats, you'll know how much fuel is left in that. So, because the canister doesn't tell you how much fuel is left. So people are getting rid of these canisters, and it probably has like half the fuel left over, right? So, yeah, it's a tough one. Or stick stoves, like you can, burn all the wood. But if you're going to a campsite that actually is being overused, everybody's trying to find wood, right? Everybody. Yeah. So learn how to pal around the shoreline or go to a bay or an island and get your own wood and bring it back to the site and leave some for the next person. People aren't doing that anymore. I'm telling you, I'm old. I'm cranky. People aren't doing that anymore because there's self-interest. Okay. So when you get to the campsite and you get wood, and you have wood left over, put it under the little chair by the campfire. Put some birch bark over it, because if it's pouring down rain and it's really cold, those people are going to love you to the ends of the earth. Right?
And you're right, Kevin. They were used to do it all the time, everywhere, and now people don't do that quite as much, and they really should. That was one of the cool things about the camping community, was that people would do things like that for the next people. It was awesome. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Totally.
Yeah. So can I ask you, one of the annoying things about cooking over a fire is carbon deposits created on the cookware. Do either of you have a way of alleviating that?
Yeah, I just embrace the carbon, I think is what Kevin's answer would be too. You can put it in a bag and store it in a bag to keep other stuff from getting soot on it. But I just embrace the soot. We talked earlier about soap. That's one method. When I was in Scouts, we used to rub our pots with soap before we cooked on them. And then the soot comes off really, really quickly if you do that. But you've got to be very persistent at that. And the way CW was cooking in his video there was pretty innovative, cooking on just coals, taking coals from a fire, putting them in one place, and putting your cookware on top of just coals. So there's no soot. That's another way to deal with that.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
I also put my my cookware into a bag that it's like those T-shirts that macho guys wear. You can see through. You can see their nipples. What's it called?
Wait a minute. Say that again. I wasn't really paying 100%. Because I think you said nipples.
Yeah, no, I did. What's the bag? Come on, Kevin, help me out. The bag that you can see through.
No, I love it.
I'm not sure.
No, it's like the bag. Like it's not a bag that you can't see, and it's what's it called? The fish
the
net.
mesh.
It's like a fish net.
Okay. Oh, fish net. Yeah.
It's like a fish net
mesh.
Shirt the guy wears.
A little bit.
Not wear. Like
Roxy just chimed in and said mesh, and that's what I said too. She's laughing, but she's laughing in the control room.
I put my pots in a fishnet bag that's all soap, whatever.
Yeah,
and it doesn't get
right
all over the place, whatever. And also, I put it on at night so people can see my nipples.
Oh.
So does the quality of cookware that we use outdoors differ than what we use on the stovetop?
You want to take it, Kevin?
I have people on trip that actually will not cook on a fire because of the whole pot dirty issue, and they will only do it on the camp stove, and won't even go near the fire because of that dirtiness. But it's the same pots, same pans. It's the same thing. You just got to get over it or not. Like, it all depends on your character, right? So if you don't want your pots and pans dirty, then just use the stove.
Yeah.
I think over a fire thing that is heavier. Kevin mentioned cast iron. You're not going to backpack with a cast iron pan, but something that's heavier that's going to deal with the flame from the fire and disperse it better. A cast iron pan doesn't transfer heat very well, but it's so heavy that it takes a lot of time for the heat to move through the pan. Anodized aluminum is really good on a campfire because the heat transfers very quickly. So a good heavy anodized aluminum pot is going to give you as even heat as possible. Don't bring a titanium pot over a campfire because they're light. They're really just made for those camp stoves to boil water in. If you cook with a titanium pot, they're very thin. You're going to get hot spots. You're going to burn your food. It'll be a disaster.
And that is exactly what I was thinking, and that's the answer I was looking for.
Yeah.
That's what we wanted to prompt with. Yeah, excellent. Thank you for pointing that out.
Also, if you're taking a Dutch oven or even a cast iron frying pan, which I think is fantastic, except don't carry it, let someone else carry it. In fact, when they're not looking, put it in their pack. But parchment paper really helps out because you just peel that off and you burn or toss that in the garbage. You take it out with you, and you don't have to clean that issue. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned that one other show, and I thought that was a great idea. I've never done that, but it sounds like it would be perfect. Absolutely. And you're talking about the Dutch oven. You're doing that in
Dutch oven, or even if you're doing a deep fry bannock or whatever in a cast iron frying pan. I've done that as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Great.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break again, but don't go away. We'll be back with more of the camping show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV after these messages.
It's time to go camping. Introducing Campground View's virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sights, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site. so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground View's virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
A few years ago, someone asked Rutabaga's owner, Darren Bush, "Hey, how long have you guys been selling boats?" Darren replied, "We don't sell boats. We sell time on the water." Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Rutabaga outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Rutabaga's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Rutabaga Paddle Sports, on the web at rutabaga.com. Mention you saw this ad on the camping show.
Campmore in Paramus is open, and we're fully stocked with everything you need for your next outdoor adventure. Stop in for safe in-store shopping or buy online with curbside pickup. Check campmore.com for our latest hours. Campmore, for over 40 years, your outdoor recreation store.
Duluth Pack is handcrafted for every lifestyle, making memories since 1882. In store at 365 Canal Park Drive or online at duluthpack.com.
And we're back with our guests, Callan and Kevin Ride, here on the Camping Show. Roxy, let's see, we got 5 minutes of show left, and we've got about 15 minutes of questions. Anyway, tell you what, can we go through these photos here quickly and put their guys' photos up, and we'll have them chat real quickly about each one of them. There we go. All right. This is Kevin Callan's, I believe. So, right? First? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a firebox.
Any brand?
Firebox is the brand. It's a stick stove.
Okay,
so you
right.
put pine cones, you put twigs in there. You can even put an alcohol transition stove in there if the wood's all wet and use that. It's fantastic. That brand probably is one of the best burning stoves. It's probably the heaviest unless you get titanium. Okay. So there's so many stick stoves, but bring a stick stove. So you've got the campfire and you got the camp stove all together.
It's a twofer.
And
yeah, I love that.
Oh, that's really fancy. My Lord, that's the I forget the name of it, but it's Jetboil's, like, oh my Lord, that's the fanciest stove ever. It compiles into, like, I can't explain it. It's so exciting, and I just don't carry it. If I was doing a trip that had no portages, I would take that. It's a Jetboil Genesis stove, I think it's called.
Okay.
And it's got two burners. It's almost like the old Coleman double burner, but lighter, more compactable. And I took that on the French River trip this year with there's no portages, and I baked bannock, and I loved it.
Yeah,
but
that's cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's the Dutch oven, but it's the aluminum one. And Kevin can probably answer this question better than I. So aluminum or cast iron? Cast iron is a lot heavier, so I bring the aluminum one. So people will say, well, isn't aluminum bad to cook in?
If it's not anodized, it is.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would. That's my understanding as well, that you really want to get something that's anodized. Occasional use is probably not too bad. It's not like the old days where the solder in cans had aluminum in them. But a lot of people try and stray away from aluminum to cook if you're cooking a lot.
I can't remember cooking in those at all. That's kind of a joke. Sorry.
All right.
I've got a similar one here. This is the GSI. It's a Dutch oven as well, and it's anodized. So I occasionally use this canoe camping, but usually it's a car camping thing.
Yeah, actually, I have that same.
Or winter camping. Winter camping. Haul that on the freight toboggan for sure, right? Yeah.
Okay, we got more pictures.
Oh, that's just the tarp camping in the wintertime or early winter, and using the campfire. I would bring a pocket stove with me, but I got the fire going, so why not? Like you got time on your hands. I think that has a lot to do with going back to what we were originally talking about. It's like campfire cooking or stove cooking. If you got a lot of time on your hands, do it on the fire. But if you want to get a dinner going in 20 minutes, do it on the stove.
Yeah.
That's us just enjoying
Is
ourselves.
that the boat of you out there?
Yeah, that's just we got nothing else to do except read.
I love it. I love it, the boat of you. I love it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, those are some pictures of some dehydrated meals from my book. Just a bit of food porn here, just to show you that dishes don't have to be boring if they're dehydrated. So there's a couple curries there and a couscous dish.
All right. So,
and this is cooking on using an oven, a reflector oven and a fire, and cooking a small bit of bannock in there. And that's another great thing that you can do with a campfire is do some real nice baking. And this is where the smell of wood really imparts flavor to what you're cooking.
Reflector ovens are amazing. So what I generally do, if I do a 10-day trip, on day 4, day 5, I take 1 day off, and then I get the reflector oven out, get a campfire going, not the camp stove, get the campfire going.
Yeah.
And I make bannock, blueberry muffins, blueberry pie, and I basically do that throughout the day. And you can't do that on a camp stove, right? So that's fantastic. I love that thing.
It is cool.
Yeah. And these are my kids. I think one of the things we forget about in this discussion is safety, and here are my kids. We're in the middle of Woodland Caribou Provincial Park, so we're in some deep wilderness on a 9-day trip. We flew in on this trip and paddled out, and I've got a fire going. My kids are enjoying the fire, but they're nice and safe. They're on a couple of floating mats that they sit on in the canoe, and they're comfortable. They've got very long sticks to roast those marshmallows so that they're not near the fire. And the last thing you want to do is have a kid with a burn when you're deep in the backcountry.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool.
all right. To wrap it up, can we have each of you tell us a little bit about your latest books? Kevin Ride, since your book came out a little earlier, can we start with you?
Yeah, thanks. I'm not the seasoned published author that Kevin is, but I had a book published this year. It's called, here it is, called Backcountry Eats. It's doing really, really well. It's getting a lot of good reviews. And if you're interested in, how to dehydrate food for backcountry and do more than just simple rice and hamburger, this is it. The first 100 or so pages are all about technique, and I've got a section here on pots and pans and a section on stoves, and then there's over 100 recipes towards the end. So if you like to eat and you like to camp, this is good.
Oh,
awesome.
It looks amazing.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, no, it's not just a good book; it's a great book. Okay, so like he's a seasoned paddler and seasoned, it's just to have it like when he sent me the book to do a review for Explore Magazine, and I flipped through it and I went, "Holy crap, this is good! This is really good! Like fantastic, Kevin, fantastic."
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Kevin.
Did you write a book lately?
Yeah, no, that's right. I wrote a book a few years back called The Trailside Cookbook, but actually this one here is the second edition of the winter camping book. They added a whole bunch of more pages on winter camping cooking, on the camp stove, also the campfire, whatever, and stuff like that. So yeah. Not as good as Kevin's, but the most important question we should end with: who's the better looking? Kevin.
Oh,
Which Kevin? Place your votes, and yeah.
Yeah, let's see that.
All right. We're running.
So where, if our viewers want more information, where can they purchase your books, and how can they follow you on social media?
Yeah, you can find mine on Amazon.com or Amazon.ca. It's called Backcountry Eats, or you can find a website called backcountry-eats.com. And you can find some of my videos there, as well as links to where you can buy the book.
Great.
Perfect.
Kevin?
Yeah, website, kevincallan.com, YouTube, KC Happy Camper, which is probably the funniest. And also just go to, well, actually go to your local bookstore, to be quite honest. I can tell you to go to Amazon, but even go to Canadian Outdoor Equipment. He's a friend of mine, owns a store, sells all my books. I'd rather him make the money than Amazon.
Sure.
I'm not knocking
Absolutely.
Amazon, but yeah. So I got tons of books and a whole bunch of the Happy Camper, the Trailside book, the Winter Camping book. They all have recipes and how to cook and stuff like that in them.
That's awesome, man. Very good. Very good. And I'm with you on the local. Absolutely. I'm all for that. Well, we'd like to thank each of you fellas for being our guests on the camping show. It was a pleasure having both of you here with us this evening.
And I think
you.
Kevin's better looking than I am.
You're always sexy, mister. Always.
Well, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Campground Views, Rutabaga Paddle Sports, Campfire, Duluth Pack, and Novacraft Canoe for bringing you tonight's show.
Be sure to tune in for next week's episode, Water Purification for Adventuring, with our guest, John Wright.
Until then, thank you for tuning in to The Camping Show.
This is CW Getz,
And Jesse Meany.
reminding you,
Learn more.
do more. See you next week.
Bye-bye.